city, one found ethnic enclaves and ghettos and barrios. Here we have a kind of systematic explosion of these urban forms into a kind of theme park city, a third world city surrounding a first world city at its core, at its heart. And indeed, this combination of first, second, we might also add, and third worlds in one, rolled up into one, is very much part of what the postmodern metropolis is like.
In south-central Los Angeles, we find one of the possible nightmarish scenarios. As Ed Soja says, in this pressurized situation of new immigrant populations spreading into older sections, conflict is inevitable. Territory and security, along with urban blight and the drug trade, are pressing issues. In this case, turf wars between rival gangs dominate daily existence. Our guide for this short trip is Nadia Battle.
What we do is we get out on the streets. I work the housing projects. We have 6 housing projects in South Central, and I work those housing projects. And the schools that feed into those projects, my job is to intervene, mediate between rival gangs in their truces. I establish activities for gang members. I go into elementary schools, and with the younger kids, I try to cut off the gang recruitment with the kids. I go to court with kids. I do a lot with kids that's on probation. I get mentors, people that are role models for the kids, and try to let them put some type of enjoyment in their lives so that the kids can turn their lives around.
Nadia is working with 2 teenagers who've been involved in gang violence. She asked Kenyatta about his experiences of school. The camp is where you're sent if you're expelled.
Just got out of camp and I needed a school to go to, so I got kicked out of manual arts. And one day, Nadia was at home and she called me to talk to my auntie to see if Nuna could come down there and stay with my little brother. So Nadia said, "Why you ain't at school?" I said, "Because I got kicked out and I just got out of camp." She said, "Well, I work with the youth health gang service," and she said, "I probably could get you back in school." So she took me up to manual arts, and I had to go through all that enrollment and checking back in. And then I had to go back to other schools and get records and shots and all that. And so then I still got kicked out and went to a continuation for messing up. I'm just can't hang in school. I got kicked out today, too.
I got into it by growing up here. My brother was killed behind gang violence. And it wasn't an easy thing. I mean, I was raised in, I see it happening, but I seen it when they used to say gangs, you know, we would just group up into people and just go different places. I mean, you know, we wouldn't go to your neighborhood, you wouldn't come to our neighborhood, and it was just like that. And if we got into it with each other, it would be a fist fight, not the guns that's taking place today, you know, unless it was a real drug situation where somebody has beaten somebody out of a lot of money of drugs, and then you would find the killings and the shootings. Okay, this is one of the barricades here that were put up for the drug enforcement zone, and it's called Operation Cul-de-sac, where we have a 24-hour foot beat by LAPD to try to cut back on some of the homicides, the killings, the drugs that's been taking place over here. This is one of the highest crimes area in Los Angeles. And if you go, not this street, but the next street, you'll find another barricade. Here's another one. Each street that has these barricades were the streets that the police picked for the highest drug and crime-infested streets, which they have blocked off. I find to believe that in the Black African-American children, we have a low poverty. Even I came from it. I mean, at the age of 12, I was gone on my own. I just refused. My mother abused me, You know, we didn't get along. We had no communication at all. You know, her way of living and my way of living just didn't equal. So I chose to do what I had to do to grow up, and my lifestyle was one that I can talk about now to the kids. That's why I'm on the street and let the kids know that I'm here for them. You don't have to go out in the street because your mother may be on drugs, may be out on the streets prostituting, may be dead. You know, you might be living with your grandparents. Whatever the reason is, you don't have to fall victim to that. You know, you can grow. If I made it and I went through some hellholes, you know, they can do it. I was so far, when I was 14 years old, I was on heavy drugs at the age of 14. You know, deep, heavy drugs. And the guy that I was staying with, you know, was almost 30 years older than me.
Kenyatta refers to gang activities as gang banging.
I think it's like they don't know who gang bang. Everybody bang just about nerds, don't nerds, and nothing. I gang bang. I'm from Full Trade Gangster, and I can't stop until I die, so I don't know. And police just consider you as a gang bang if you ain't even no gang banger, but I bang, so.
Why do you bang?
Because I grew up in the community, and I guess I followed along with everybody else, but I'm a follower. I ain't no follower, I'm a leader. So, you know.
The issue of security arises in a different form in a middle-class black neighborhood such as Baldwin Hills, which used to be shunned by retailers until the shopping mall was fenced and gated and fitted with state-of-the-art security devices. The manager, Leo Ray Lynch.
The center was rebuilt in 1988 into a two-story enclosed mall. The reasons for that had to do with the lack of commercial activity in the area. In the mid-'60s, as the area began to change in terms of its ethnic diversity, blacks began to move in great numbers, whites began to move out in great numbers, and the shop owners, for the most part, moved out with them. They either lived here or they felt that with the influx of blacks coming to the area, that the area was going to turn over into a ghetto area, that it was going to go down in terms of the quality and quantity of people that were there, and that they couldn't do business here. So they began to move in the mid-'60s on into the '70s. That continued with the Watts riots, had a major impact on that in terms of a lot of the flight out of the area. What happened, however, was in the residential areas around here, we really had like for like. When a white doctor moved out, a black doctor moved in. So we never really had a change in terms of the economics of the area, in terms of the people that lived in the area. There was just a change in the hue of the skin. That message, however, didn't get across to the retailers. And up until in the early '80s, when they began developing this project and the ideas of this project came together, we began to try to get the retailers to understand that there was a definite market here that could be tapped. The center was built in '88. We opened up with slow leasing, but we've been moving steadily forward since then. One of the things that we've had to do in terms of dealing with the perceptions of what the area is and dealing with the realities, quite frankly, of retail environments anywhere in this country today, whether in the suburban area or in the urban area, is deal with the issue of security. We have more cameras. We have state-of-the-art equipment. We've been written up by the Justice Department in this country. I've been written up in all the security magazines, written up in all the shop center magazines. We're sort of at the forefront in terms of security. We have the lowest crime rate of any center right now in Southern California. Because of the size of the facility, we actually have a police substation here. We have 6 police officers that are assigned to this mall, and their job is really patrolling the mall, patrolling the environment around the mall, the parking lot. That has become almost a standard now. We were probably one of the first to do that.
This is the video monitoring system, and the screens are positioned geographically throughout the mall where we can best utilize the majority of the activity. The RTO, the lady that sits here 24 hours, different individuals, she can pick a screen and isolate on any activity or individuals that appear within that viewing of the screen. She can raise the clarity, she can zoom in or zoom out, She can actually speak to the individuals. They are hooked up with a speaker system so that she can isolate to that particular camera. We have fencing around the mall, and the design of the fence is to enhance the beauty, to make it aesthetically beautiful, and not give you the feeling of a fortress, basically to keep the customers feeling safe inside the mall while keeping the bad element outside.
Los Angeles is a good example of what is happening in many urban areas across the country, and I'm sure probably around the world now too, in that it is rapidly becoming a minority community. Minority in the sense that blacks, Hispanics, Asians have always been thought of as being part of the minority, but in many areas like LA, those groups are rapidly becoming the majority. In terms of retailing, what retailers have to begin to look at is that the market that they have been marketing to for the last 20, 30 years or more is now a minority market. And they have, in many cases, ignored minority communities and not gone into those minority communities, not marketed in those communities, not done any business in those communities, assuming they're going to come to other communities to shop. Now, those minority communities make up the major portion of the city, and they have to begin to look very hard at coming into those communities if they're going to be viable, if they're going to be in business, and if they're going to survive on into the next century.
The pressures of population changes and security fears also arise for a downtown, mainly white middle-class enclave such as Park La Brea. Jerry Baum, the manager, describes his community.
The community obviously sits in the central part of metropolitan Los Angeles. We are 20 minutes from downtown Los Angeles and 20 minutes from Santa Monica and the ocean and 5 minutes from Beverly Hills. We have 4,253 apartments and a population of very close to 10,000 people, so it's quite a large community. There's a terrific mix of people in Park La Brea. We have attorneys and judges and Hollywood people from the films and television. Our gardens and grounds we consider lovely to be in the center of a city. And of course, that's really the big draw of Park La Brea.
Before the community was fenced and secure, there was a great fear of robbery and assault. One of the oldest residents, 95-year-old Al Steinberg, describes how such an experience had fatal results for his wife.
The robbery came, and she went into shock, had a heart attack, and she became an invalid for 3 years, and eventually she passed on.
How does Al feel about living at Park La Brea now?
I feel a certain amount of safety here, an elimination of a lot of crime. Service is good. You ask for something, and you can pretty well get it in 10 or 15 minutes. And as far as the rents are concerned, they're comparable with any other decent place. And I just like it here.
What does Al think of the changes that have taken place in Los Angeles?
It changed from day to night and night to day. It's a very crime-ridden city. I hardly ever go out. I go to the grocery store, the barber shop, or a nightclub once in a while. Not a nightclub, but a restaurant, and that's about the limit of my activity. I'm scared to go out. If I leave my car at a restaurant and it's taken by the valet, I look in the back seat before I get in the car to see if anybody is cramped down on the floor. It'll hit me on the head. This is the fear that has developed. We've had women in this compound before we had safety that were attacked here and elsewhere, and